Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate cooking 3 dishes all with chicken, mainly for my son based on his request. My wife and I have moved away from eating chicken almost entirely as we are leaning more toward a fully plant-based diet. I am making 3 dishes with chicken in it. They are really our regular dishes, and I make modifications to include chicken, this case specifically for my son. With these dishes, I want to show you the flexibility of my cooking system. I constantly adapt my cooking to serve different needs, particularly for people who prefer different kinds of food. Cooking is social, and cooking for other people is a show of love, respect, and caring. The first dish is chicken fried rice, which I took a different approach from my normal chicken recipe. I use large chicken pieces to make the chicken more distinct in flavor and texture in the fried rice. I also marinated chicken in advance with paprika for about half an hour before I do the stir frying. The frying also gives the chicken more flavor. I stir fry the chicken for about 30 seconds so that it's about half cooked, and it will finish cooking with the rest of the fried rice. The most important characteristics of a good fried rice dish is the texture of the rice. It has to be relatively dry without the rice kernels sticking together. For making fried rice, I always use long grain rice, never use short grain or even medium grain rice. Never use freshly cooked rice because they will spell disaster. Keep the cooked rice in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours, preferably overnight. Here I use 4 cups of cooked long grain rice, and I break it up with the hamburger meat chopper. I used to break up the rice with the spatula and making a mess. Using the right tool is essential, and it makes life so much easier. I don't even know this kitchen gadget exists until one day I was watching somebody making chili, and she was picking up the hamburger meat. And watching her doing it gave me the idea that I could use it to break up fried rice as well, and it works beautifully. I always add egg to my fried rice, but I used to do it differently. I fry the egg separately, and then I add it to the fried rice. This method is far more efficient. The idea is very straightforward. I create some space in the middle of the wok, I add some oil, and then I fry the egg directly in the wok. In this case, I fry 2 eggs. I really like this method because of its simplicity, and I also feel that it gives the rice better flavor as well. I fry the egg for about 30 seconds until the egg white has turned opaque. Then I start mixing in the rice with the egg. I mix the content rapidly with the spatula in the wok. Here demonstrate the advantage of the wok. If I have been using a skillet instead of the wok, I can guarantee you that the content will be all over the place and the stirring will be very difficult to perform. I cook this entire meal in a large 14-inch cast iron wok. I have done a review on this wok, and you can take a look at it. As I have done repeatedly in the past in my other video, I am a strong proponent of either a cast iron wok or a carbon steel wok that with natural uncoated surface. With this kind of wok, I can use a stainless steel spatula without concerning about damaging the surface of the wok. If I'm using a wok with non-stick coating, I would have easily demonstrated the coating by using such a spatula, and I would not be able to stir with this kind of rigor. For the next step of cooking this fried rice, I add frozen edamame. My son loves edamame. I decided to add the edamame directly from the freezer without thawing it out. Since the edamame is already cooked, all I need to do is basically warm it up, and I can save myself some time by adding it directly to the fried rice. Let the stirring in the wok to pour out the edamame without taking that extra step. I treat cooking as everything else I do in my life. How can I improve it? How can I make it more efficient? And how can I save time? One characteristic of a good fried rice, at least for my personal preference, is for the rice to be slightly fried at the bottom, and that gives that nice crispy as well as a slight burnt flavor. So as you can see now, some of the rice actually stick to the bottom and slightly burn, and this is where a metal wok spatula to come into really handy, because I can scrape it off without worrying about damaging the surface of the wok. And of course, you have to do it in a wok without non-stick coating, and that's why a natural surface wok is superior than a non-stick wok. And over the years, I have owned a number of woks with non-stick coating. In the beginning, they work quite well, but once the non-stick coating start to come up, which they eventually will, and you have real problem, and to the point that they stick so badly that you just have to discard them. But the beauty of a fried rice dish is you can add anything to it. In here, I added some shredded carrots as well as some scallions. I added shredded carrots because I like the sweetness that the carrot would bring to the fried rice. And of course, the scallions would bring a flavor of onions. Instead of using onion, I use scallion because it is easier to add scallion at the end when I almost ready to complete cooking the dish. The appearance of a dish is also important to me because we feast with our eyes as well. You probably can tell the reason that why I add the shredded carrot and the scallion is to bring color to the dish. The carrot brings a nice orange color. I next season the fried rice with garlic powder, ginger powder, and onion powder, as well as mushroom seasoning. Those are my basic seasoning. I also a little bit cumin, and then I add a touch of paprika as well. But to bring out the natural flavor of the ingredients rather than overwhelming them. I keep my seasonings in an Indian spice box known as masala dabba, which makes it easier for me to dispense the different seasonings into the dish. I then add a touch of oyster sauce to enhance the savoriness of the fried rice. Again, the oyster sauce is entirely optional. If you don't have it, I will not worry about it at all. There's so many ways to cook fried rice. In fact, this particular combination or this particular fried rice with the chicken in large pieces is the first time I cook my fried rice in using this method. I cook this fried rice specifically for my son. I cook it with large piece of chicken because he likes chicken. I cook this fried rice with edamame because he likes edamame. In this particular demonstration, is to you how flexibility you can introduce to something that you have done all the time by using variations of the ingredients and as well as how you approach in cooking them. You can cook a particular recipe tailored to a person's preference, and this is what makes cooking so wonderful, is that you can adjust it to your like and other people's whom you in your life of how they like it as well. So this is the creative aspect of my perfect cooking system, and it is the C characteristics, which means creativity. You can create anything you want with your imagination. The key is that having the basic ingredients on hand so you can have the flexibility to create various versions of maybe a basic recipe that you use all the time to suit your personal desire at the time and to suit the preferences of other people that who you are cooking for. One of my son's favorite dish is teriyaki chicken. If he has what his desire, he would like to have teriyaki chicken all by itself without anything else. However, I like to see him eat more vegetables, so we have come to a compromise. I will make teriyaki chicken with an assortment of vegetables that he also enjoys. My teriyaki chicken is actually very similar to general chow chicken, except the chicken is not fried. The chicken is cut to bite size, so it cooks very rapidly in the wok, and by stir frying it, the chicken can be cooked efficiently in less than about 30 seconds. The sauce has 4 components. The first component is the oyster sauce, and the oyster sauce provides the savory flavor. And then the second is the hoisin sauce. Most of you are probably familiar with hoisin sauce, that it has a sweet and fruity flavor. Lastly, I put in the dark soy sauce, which to give both the color as well as a smoked flavor to the sauce. Many years ago, when I make teriyaki chicken, I used to buy teriyaki sauce that already pre-mixed. However, this is much better. As long as you know what all the ingredients are, you can mix it yourself because you can tailor it to your taste. Okay, next comes the sugar. As you can see, lots of sugar. And this is the reason I avoid this recipe, because of the amount of sugar that is being used. After I add the sugar, I immediately remove the content from the wok, because with the heat, the sugar tends to caramelize and they will stick to the bottom of the wok and cause a lot of problem. I'm not going to wash the wok, and I'm going to cook the vegetable now directly in the wok, because the flavor will be all the same. So I add a little bit more oil and I saute some garlic and get ready for cooking the vegetables. 3 of the most commonly cooked vegetables for me is carrot, cauliflower and broccoli. Carrots are most inexpensive and has a lot of nutrients. Therefore, I use carrot in almost every vegetable dish. I prep cauliflowers almost every week. It is very versatile and can be used in many different vegetable combinations. Besides, my son really likes cauliflower. I also prep broccoli every week. Broccoli is very versatile and could be used in many different type of dishes. Besides, both my wife and I enjoy broccoli very much. I usually stir fry the vegetables in hot oil for about 10 to 15 seconds until the edge of the vegetable start to show some browning. Sometimes I add a little bit more oil if I do not see the vegetable totally covered by oil, because that is important for the Maillard reaction to take place. This 2-stage process for cooking vegetables is applicable to almost any vegetables that I cook, with the first stage frying the vegetable in the hot oil to causing the production of a flavor molecule through the Maillard chemical reaction. And the second stage is to add water to the wok. And so in this stage, you start steam the vegetables to the texture that you like. As you can see, when I add water, it generates lots of steam, shows that it is steaming the vegetable. Now you do not have to stir the vegetable as much as you would before when you're doing the stir fry in hot oil. However, you need to keep an eye on the fluid in the bottom of the wok so that it will not dry out and end up burning the vegetables. At this point, I start to add seasoning to the vegetables. I add them from a Indian spice box known as masala daba. I started with paprika, some mushroom seasoning, and followed by some cumin, and then onion powder, and then followed by garlic powder. Like this seasoning is a mild seasoning, mainly is to enhance the natural flavor of the vegetable rather than impose on flavors on the dish. I then follow by adding some lemon pepper to give it a lemon taste to the vegetables. So as you can see, I generate the flavor of the vegetables by 2 methods. One is that I stir fry it in hot oil and using the chemical reaction to generate flavor molecules from the surface of the vegetable. And then the other way is that by adding the seasonings. Again, I use seasonings mainly to draw out the natural flavor of the vegetable rather than overwhelming their natural flavor. Unlike many other forms of cooking that you can cover the pot and walk away and simmer it slowly, or you put it in the oven and bake it and you come back at a certain time. A stir fry is a constant process that you continually monitor the progress by testing the texture, and sometimes you taste the flavor, you check the fluid level in the wok, and this provides you a constant feedback from your observation, and you can make adjustments, make changes along the way. So at this point, I decided that the vegetable has arrived at the texture I want it to be. So I took the chicken I cooked earlier and I put them back into the vegetable and I mix it all together. Since I did not cook the chicken fully, the remaining time that I'm going to have the chicken in the wok will be just right to get the chicken to the right doneness I want it to be. Now the next step is for me to make a sauce, and this is the important part of the teriyaki chicken. I'm going to make the sauce using cornstarch, and based on my past experience, I know how much cornstarch to put in based on the amount of fluid that I have in the wok. I want to have enough fluid so that the cornstarch can thicken it and make it into a rich sauce to cover the chicken and the vegetable. I sprinkle the cornstarch over the contents in the wok, and then I quickly stir the wok. And the stirring is important, and you need to do it very rapidly so that the cornstarch will be evenly distributed through all the contents in the wok. Otherwise, the cornstarch might start to form clumps, and you don't want that to happen. As you can tell, the cornstarch starts to thicken, and then now you have a nice sauce that go over both the chicken and the vegetables. So this is the compromise I have reached with my son in terms of the combination between the chicken and the vegetable. In the beginning, he has some objection to it. He rather to just have the chicken. But gradually, he started to like the mixture of the chicken and the vegetable. And at the same time, he realized that the importance of vegetable in his diet. So he gradually accepted that. Now I'm start to using the chicken rather than as the main ingredient. I gradually move the chicken and make it into a condiment, use it as a flavoring rather than use it as a primary component of this dish. I think this is the general direction that I would like to take for people who used to eat meat as their primary dietary source and gradually move them into vegetable being the primary dietary source, using this combination slowly and gradually to make the change. So now I'm ready to cook the final dish, which is bok choy, tofu, and chicken. Now my son loves chicken and tofu, but he does not really care for bok choy. So this dish is going to be a compromise that using tofu and chicken perhaps can entice my son to like bok choy. I actually cook the chicken exactly the same way as I did with the teriyaki chicken. I start sauteing some garlic in hot oil, and then I add the chicken to the wok and start to stir fry. In fact, all my chicken dishes stir fry in the wok using exactly the same procedure. The only variations is by using different type of sauces and seasoning, and through the variations of seasoning and through different type of spice and herbs, you can cook chicken in many different ways and drawing from cuisines all around the world by creating the kind of flavor that you like. In this dish, I want to make the chicken have more of a spicy, I would call it perhaps Thai flavor. So I use the sriracha sauce, and I put the sriracha sauce directly onto the chicken before the chicken almost fully cooked. As you can see, you can create chicken of different type of flavor by just simply changing the sauce and the spice that you want to use. After I mix the chicken with the sriracha sauce, I add a little bit more oyster sauce. Again, you can add hoisin sauce if you want. The oyster sauce, I just want to give it a little bit more savory flavor. Now the chicken is about probably 70% cooked. I'm going to remove it from the wok and put it in a bowl and add it to the vegetable at the end, just as I did in the previous dish. So now I'm ready to cook the bok choy. I cut up the bok choy into half. Actually, I slice it longitudinally. Sometimes I cut it into quarter, depending on the size of the vegetable. I do not cut the top of the bok choy because when you cook it, the top part, which is the green part, is going to shrink significantly to the point that you probably will not even notice it that it exists. I start out by saute some garlic in hot oil, and then I put in the baby bok choy, and I stir fry it for probably about 10 or 15 seconds so that it is coated with oil. And again, the process is for generate flavor molecules. But not everybody likes bok choy, and my son doesn't like it as much as I do. Some varieties of bok choy, like this one, tends to be slightly bitter. In fact, the bitterness of the bok choy creates new opportunity to combine it with other ingredients such as tofu, which is a perfect flavor partner with this bok choy variety. Of course, there are so many different kinds of tofu. Which one should I use? I'm always experimenting with different types of tofu, exploring their different textures. In this dish, I choose a kind of extra firm tofu that comes already fried because I really like the fried texture. In some ways, this fried tofu tastes very much like meat to me. You know, I find tofu to be an excellent meat substitute, particularly the firm or extra firm type. In fact, I find some tofu varieties are marked as meat substitutes with label as vegetarian beef and vegetarian chicken. Since I have promised my son that I'm going to cook these dishes with chicken, I'm adding some real chicken, not just vegetarian chicken substitutes. I have cooked the bok choy for about 3 to 4 minutes by now, and the green leafy part has shrunk, leaving the more meaty stem portion of the bok choy. I test them with a pair of chopsticks to make sure that they are at the texture that I like. Some people like it very soft, but I like it slightly crunchy. Now, like I said earlier, I would not have added chicken to this dish because the fried tofu would provide the texture that is needed for this dish, giving it some substance. However, for my son's request, I have included chicken, which I cooked in the beginning and have set aside, and now I mix it back with the tofu. The dish is almost ready, and I add some rice cooking wine to enhance the flavor of the dish. However, I do not want to add the wine too early to maximize the flavor of the wine in the dish. Flavoring a dish is a complicated process, and I'm always experimenting and looking for the best approach. I love stir fry because I can make constant adjustment during cooking. For example, I decided to add some hot chili oil with peanut at the last minute to give more heat to the dish. To me, cooking is a combination of science and art, a truly creative process. I probably would never cook this dish the same way just I did here. It would definitely be other form of variations next time. Cooking is like drawing, painting, making music, or writing poetry. You create as you go along. So, okay, here's my final product. Am I satisfied with it, you might ask? Yes, I am, but I already think of the improvements that I could make. Well, this is the pressure of cooking, constantly looking and exploring. Cooking is also intensely social, because I'm going out of my way to cook these dishes for my son. I would probably omit the chicken entirely if they were for my wife and me. I include the chicken because I want to please my son, and this is nothing wrong about that. I get him to eat home-cooked meal rather than fast food and processed food. That makes me feel good too. I'm going to visit my son this afternoon. He's going to be pleased to see this pre-packed meal, which we call them lunchies for years. In this case, from a 3-course chicken dinner that I cook under 25 minutes. If you'd like to see more recipes, cooking tips, and benefits of my cooking system, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Walk with Tak, by pressing the subscribe button below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.